On the night of August 11th, 1834, a mob of over 2,000 men surrounded a convent on a hill in Charlestown, Massachusetts. Inside, 13 nuns and 60 young girls listened to the screams outside. The men carried torches, they carried weapons, and they had come to burn it all down. By sunrise, the Ursuline Convent was nothing but ash and ruins. The sisters scattered, never to return, but something else remained, because nearly 2 centuries later, people still see them, walking through the ruins, praying in the darkness, figures in black habits moving through spaces that no longer exist. This is their story. You've just entered the Hidden Archive, where forgotten history meets the unexplained. My name is Fernanda, and tonight I'm taking you to one of the most disturbing events in American religious history, and the haunting that followed. In 1820, a group of Catholic nuns from the Ursuline Order arrived in Boston from Quebec. They were teachers, dedicated women who had taken vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Their mission was education, particularly for young girls. Within a few years, they established the Ursuline Academy in Charlestown, just across the river from Boston. It sat on Plowed Hill, overlooking the city, a 3-story brick building with gardens, a chapel, and a cemetery for the sisters who would eventually be laid to rest there. The convent became one of the finest schools in New England. Daughters of wealthy Protestant families attended alongside Catholic students. The sisters taught music, languages, literature. By all accounts, they were respected educators. But beneath that respect, something darker was growing. This was the 1830s. America was in the grip of intense religious paranoia. Irish and German Catholic immigrants were flooding into Boston, and the Protestant majority saw them as a threat, not just for jobs or resources, but for the very soul of the nation. Rumors began to spread, whispered in taverns, printed in newspapers, preached from pulpits. Catholics, they said, were agents of the Pope, conspirators plotting to overthrow American democracy. And convents? Convents were the worst of all. People claimed that nuns were held prisoner, that young women were forced into servitude, that babies born from illicit relations with priests were murdered and buried in secret tunnels beneath the buildings. None of it was true, but truth didn't matter. The Ursuline Convent, visible on its hill, became a symbol, a target. In late July 1834, a nun named Mary John left the convent briefly. She was exhausted, possibly ill, and needed time away from her duties, but she returned within days. That should have been the end of it. Instead, a local bricklayer named John Buzzell spread the story that a nun had escaped, that she had fled captivity, that she had revealed terrible secrets about what happened inside those walls. The story caught fire. Public meetings were held. A mob mentality took hold. Newspapers fueled the flames. On August 8th, a selectman even visited the convent to investigate the claims. He found nothing. The sisters showed him the entire building. He left satisfied that everything was in order. But the mob didn't care about his report. 3 days later, they came. August 11th, 1834. Around 11 p.m., a crowd began gathering near the convent. At first, it was 50 men, then 100, then more. By midnight, over 2,000 people surrounded the hill. Inside, the 13 nuns and 60 students heard the shouting. They saw the torches through the windows. Mother Superior Mary Ann Moffat went to the door and demanded the mob leave. She warned them that the Bishop of Boston had powerful friends, that there would be consequences. Her words meant nothing. The crowd surged forward. They smashed through the gates, broke down the doors. The sisters barely had time to evacuate the girls through a back entrance into the gardens. They fled into the darkness, hiding among the tombs in the cemetery, clutching the children, trying to keep them quiet. The mob poured through every room. They destroyed everything, smashed furniture, tore religious paintings from the walls, desecrated the chapel. They ransacked the music rooms, the libraries, the dormitories. and then they set it on fire. The flames rose into the night sky, visible for miles. The crowd cheered as the roof collapsed, as the walls crumbled, as everything the sisters had built turned to ash. By dawn, the Ursuline Convent was gone. 13 nuns, 60 students, all survived. But they were never the same. The sisters scattered. Some returned to Canada. Others moved to different convents in other states. None ever came back to Charlestown. The school never reopened. There were trials. A few men were arrested. John Buzzell, the bricklayer who had spread the lies, was acquitted. Only one man was convicted, and he was later pardoned. The Catholic community demanded justice. They demanded compensation. They received neither. The Massachusetts government refused to rebuild the convent. The site was abandoned. For decades, the ruins remained. The burned walls, the broken foundation, the cemetery where the sisters had hidden with the children, still there, untended, overgrown, and that's when the sightings began. People who passed the ruins at night reported seeing figures, women in long black habits moving through the skeletal remains of the building, sometimes alone, sometimes in groups. Witnesses described hearing hymns, prayers in Latin, soft voices singing in the darkness where no one should be. Some claimed to see lights in the windows of walls that no longer existed, flickering candles where there were no rooms left to hold them. One account from the 1850s describes a night watchman who refused to go near the site after dark. He swore he had seen a nun kneeling in the burned chapel, hands folded in prayer, her figure perfectly clear, until she faded into nothing. In the 1870s, the land was sold. A new school was eventually built on the site. The ruins were cleared, but the reports didn't stop. Teachers and students at the new building spoke of cold spots in certain hallways, doors that opened on their own, the sound of footsteps in empty corridors, a presence that felt watchful. In the basement, where parts of the original foundation still remained, maintenance workers refused to go alone. They said it felt wrong down there, oppressive, like something was waiting. Today, there's a small memorial plaque on the site. Most people pass it without a second glance. A housing complex now occupies part of the area. The cemetery was relocated. The graves moved. But locals still talk. Urban explorers who investigate the remaining historical structures in Charlestown have reported strange experiences near the old convent site. Electronic equipment malfunctions. Cameras drain their batteries in seconds. EVP recordings pick up whispers, sometimes in French, the language the Ursuline sisters spoke. One paranormal investigator claimed to have captured a photograph in 2003. In the image, barely visible in the shadows, is the silhouette of a woman in a habit. She appears to be looking directly at the camera. The photo has never been debunked, but it's also never been verified. If the stories are true, if the sisters really do linger, why? Some believe it's trauma, that the violence of that night imprinted itself on the place, that the terror the nuns felt, the helplessness as they watched their life's work burn, was so intense it couldn't fully fade. Others think the sisters stayed out of duty. They had taken vows. They had promised to protect their students, to serve their faith. Perhaps, in death, they still keep that promise. Or maybe it's something simpler. Maybe they're still waiting for justice that never came, waiting for someone to remember what was done to them, waiting for the world to acknowledge that they were victims, not the villains the mob believed them to be. In 2016, a woman named Sarah visited Charlestown while researching her family history. Her great-great-grandmother had been one of the students at the Ursuline Academy, one of the 60 girls who hid in the cemetery that night. Sarah went to the site. She stood where the convent had been, and as the sun set, she heard something. Singing. Soft, distant, a hymn in a language she didn't recognize. She looked around. The street was empty. No radios, no open windows, just the song, coming from nowhere. And then she saw her. At the edge of the memorial plaque, a figure in black, head bowed, hands folded. Sarah said the figure never moved, never looked up, just stood there, perfectly still, as if locked in eternal prayer. When she blinked, she was gone. The Ursuline Convent fire was not a ghost story. It was a hate crime, an act of religious persecution that destroyed lives and shattered a community. For nearly 200 years, that violence has been downplayed, forgotten, buried in the footnotes of history. But the sisters, they haven't forgotten. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, there's something unsettling about the Ursuline ruins. A weight in the air, a sense that the past is not as distant as we'd like to think. Because some places remember, some places hold on to their pain, and some places refuse to let go. The nuns of the Ursuline Convent were driven from their home by fear and hatred. They lost everything, and if the stories are true, they never truly left. Walk past that memorial plaque in Charlestown, stand where the convent once was, and listen. You might hear them too. If this story pulled you into the shadows, don't leave just yet. Subscribe to the Hidden Archive for more forgotten histories and the hauntings they left behind. Hit that notification bell, because some stories, once you hear them, don't let you go. And if you've ever experienced something you can't explain, something that made you question what's real, leave it in the comments. We read every single one. This is Fernanda, and remember, the past is never really gone. It's just waiting to be remembered.